Hi there. Today's assignment is all about ratio tables and writing their rules as an equation. So the first thing that you want to do in a table is start to figure out if you can identify the rule. Now, since these are ratio tables with relationships, we're going to be looking across rows. What I find helpful on this first one is that I zoom in and then I use my select tool so that I can click around. So I'm going to look for a math rule here. Now I'm going to look, for example, from a 24 pencils, and then there's 2 erasers. And I've just got to figure out a relationship between 24 and 2 that's multiplicative. That means it's either multiplying or it's dividing. So since it got smaller, I know it's division. And if I think to my math facts that I know that 24 divided by 12 gets me 2. Now, if I look down below at the other one where we have both numbers, 84 divided by 12 is also 7. So I know that my divide by 12 rule works. I recommend, once I find the rule, to write it in all of these blue spaces. Now, to write division, we're going to click on this text box and we're going to use the slash mark. So slash 12 equals. And what that does for me is it makes my row look like an equation. 24 divided by 12 equals 2. I'm going to do the same thing in all of my other blue boxes. Divide by 12 equals. Divide by 12 equals. And I also like to put it up top, and this will help in one moment. So now that I've found my rule and I've typed it in, I need to fill in the missing numbers in the yellow boxes. So for example, it says 60 divided by 12 equals something. My math facts tell me that that's a 5. The other way to think about it is what times 12 got me to that big number 60, and that helps me figure out that it's a 5 fact. Okay, last but not least, we have 120 divided by 12. I know that that is a 10 fact. Now that we have finished our ratio table and we have come up with our rule, we need to write on the right side a relationship between the quantities in an equation. Now, if you remember, I told you to type in the answers in the blue boxes everywhere. So what I actually want to do is look up at this top row with my blue box filled in. And instead of plugging in particular numbers, we're going to use the variables or the letters that they've given us for pencils and erasers. So because pencils is the letter P, we're going to start with whatever's in the pencil column. It can be any number of pencils, but we're going to call it P for pencils. And I take P for pencils and I divide by 12, and that's going to equal the number E for erasers. So my rule as an equation is what I read in this top line using these letters or variables. So because I start with pencils, I'm going to type in the letter P, and then I'm going to do a slash for divide. Divide by 12 equals E for erasers. So I just read my top row of my ratio table because I wrote the rule there. It was really quick and easy for me to write the equation. Now, the other equation was if I were to go backwards, and we have to do a little bit of thinking. Now, the opposite of division is multiplication. So if I were to start in the eraser column, so I'm going to start with the letter E this time, and I'm going to move backwards in my ratio table. And so instead of dividing, the opposite or moving backwards from that would be multiply. So I'm going to put a times sign. Now, the numbers in the E eraser column times 12 would equal the letter P in my pencil column. And I'll give you an example. So if I started over at the 2, if I started with a 2, I'm not dividing that by 12. If I'm moving backwards, I took 2, I multiplied it by 12, and then I got the 24 pencils. So because I was moving backwards in my ratio table, I wrote the equation using the opposite type of math. Your job today is to do this for the rest of the tables. So you're going to be doing the same thing with the winter table. Then you'd go to the next slide. You would look at the sports table. Then we would have the nature table. And last but not least, you're going to fill out the last slide where you actually get to make up your own table. You can come up with your own title, your own 2 objects, whatever objects you are choosing. You're going to fill in all the numbers on both sides following the rule. what is your equation as one direction, and then you're going to go backwards in your table and write the opposite or the other equation that also matches. These blue boxes are where you can choose to type your rule if you want to. It's up to you. Some people don't have to use those blue boxes once they feel comfortable with this strategy. So your job today is to do all of these slides. Good luck and do your very best.